Hello, everybody, and welcome to Zakem's Kitchen Home Edition. I'm Stephanie Myers, the Nutrition Coordinator in the Zakem Center for Integrative Therapies and Healthy Living. And I'm really happy that you're here with us today to talk about how to stock your pantry and some of the benefits of doing that in terms of how they can help you produce weeknight meals or even weekend meals with less time and effort. I just want to thank the participant who suggested this theme and topic for today. We absolutely welcome and love it when you offer us your ideas of things you'd like to see us feature in Zakem's Kitchen Home Edition. So please keep those emails and those ideas coming even in the chat as we're talking together today. So we're going to do a couple things today. We're going to talk about how to think about organizing your pantry, but more so from organizing it, what kinds of things to have as sort of staples. A well-stocked pantry can be a really big asset in terms of turning out an easy dinner, as I mentioned. So we're going to kind of go through a few ways to think about organizing and perhaps even expanding your pantry. And then we're going to cook a dish that I absolutely love that's made mostly from pantry ingredients. It's Food and Wine's chickpea and spinach stew. It's definitely a hit. So we'll start as we usually do with some slides and conversation. And I just want to mention that for those of you who are interested in receiving a copy of the slides, you'll see the Zakem Center email in the chat right now. And you can open your email and just send us a message if you'd like to receive both a copy of the PDF of the slides and also all of the links. You don't have to do that. Flavia is our project manager. She's here on the call with me. She will be taking all of your questions in the chat, so type them in anytime. And she will also be putting into the chat in real time the links that I'm referring to as we go along. All right, so let's talk about pantry-based meals, how to stock your pantry. Julia Moskin wrote a fabulous article in the New York Times cooking section on how to stock a modern pantry. And if you go nowhere else after our talk today, this is the article I would highly recommend you check out. What I love about how this article is written is that it's broken down into three distinct categories. The essential pantry, sort of the basics, the expanded pantry, and the expert pantry. Now, don't feel any sort of pressure to reach the expert level. I reading this article is not in any way, shape, or form wanting you to feel inferior. But I love that this article challenges you to think about broadening your pantry beyond just the basics. And the basics are also a great place to start. So in this article, the things are organized according to categories. And actually, this article really resonated with me because it's often how I've thought about organizing my own pantry. And these are the 11 categories that I recommend you think about. And these are very closely aligned with Julia's article in the New York Times Cooking. So this is the kind of things we're going to talk about today. I'm not going to take you through every category because as you'll see here, there's things like freezer, produce, and baking. And that doesn't feel quite as pantry-ish to me. So we're going to keep it in stuff that belongs in cupboards today in order to make sure we stay on topic. So here are some categories for you to think about. Oils and vinegars, cans and jars, spices and herbs, grains. By that, I mean things like brown rice, farro. We'll get in a little bit more into detail in a minute. Dried beans and lentils, nuts and nut butters. And we're going to talk also today about condiments and sauces. Sweeteners for me is pretty straightforward. I can talk more about that if you'd like, but for sweeteners, for me, it really comes down to honey and maple syrup most of the time. So in a minute, I'm going to just show you what I've taken out of my pantry and give you some examples. But for those of you at home thinking about your own pantry, you can either open up the cabinets and cupboards as we go along, or you can just jot down ideas that maybe help you expand or pick out one or two new things you might be able to add to your pantry. Once we get through that, I want you to feel as though you have some inspiration for how to put those pantry items to work for you in healthy and fun and flavorful new recipes. So there's a couple of places I would recommend going to. In fact, just 2 websites alone, these 2 that I'm about to share with you, looking through these 2 websites, you're going to find about 43 recipes that are really mostly pantry based and quite delicious. So Love and Lemons is the first website I'll send you to. And this is her 30+ healthy pantry recipe guide. The pictured recipe here is one I've made often. It's delicious. It's a curried tomato lentil soup. So curried lentil soup with turmeric, phenomenal, easy pulled together from things in the pantry. And there are, again, there's actually 33 other recipes in this link that I think, hope you'll find enjoyable. And then also the kitchen, another favorite of my website from my perspective. Sheila Prakash has a link to 10 dinners you can make without going to the grocery store. Love that. 10 dinners you can make without a trip to the grocery store. So playing around between both of these two websites, in my opinion, is going to give you a really broad range of flavor profiles and ideas of what to do with things that are in your pantry or cupboard. And what we're going to make today is, as I mentioned before, pretty straightforward, using predominantly pantry items. And it's from Food and Wine. It's chickpea and spinach stew. And we're going to get to that in a moment. And if you'd like, again, to find this recipe, it'll be in the chat for you. Flavia is going to put it in there. And I'm going to take us back out to looking at the things I pulled out of my cabinet to share with you today. So let's walk through a few things. Like I said, it's hard to just stop at one item, but I want to start with the oils and vinegars, because that's the first place I would recommend checking in with what you've got in your pantry. This is a great time for me to also mention that these are not endorsements of particular brands. These just happen to be the things in my cabinet. And in this doing it from home kind of environment, work from home environment, we just have what we have on hand, right? So when it comes to oils, I'd recommend 2 key oils: olive oil, so this is extra virgin olive oil, and avocado oil. And here's how I differentiate which one I'm going to use. If I'm cooking something at 400 degrees or less, I choose olive oil. If I'm turning my oven to 425 or higher, I use avocado oil. And that's because avocado oil has a higher smoke point and doesn't oxidize until it reaches higher temperatures. So avocado oil for high heat, even stovetop frying or pan frying, olive oil for salad dressings, and anything you put in the oven at 400 degrees or less. So those are my 2 go-to oils. Of course, many of you might find things like sesame oil, peanut oil, something that offers a little bit more of a particular flavor, something else you want to have on hand, and that's obviously perfectly fine as well. This is, again, where I recommend you refer to that article that Julia Moskin has. It helps you really, if you have the basics of oils, but you're looking for ways to expand, some ideas on how to incorporate different oils, infused oils, all kinds of fun things. All right, then vinegars. Vinegars are an area where I go a little overboard, but I'm only showing you the 3 that I think are the basics today. Actually 4, I forgot to pull out the balsamic vinegar. So 4 vinegars I highly recommend are red wine, white wine, apple cider, and balsamic. So those would be the 4 vinegars that I find I get the most leverage out of and use most often. I'm also, like I said, a big fan of all kinds of fun other vinegars, like Prosecco cider vinegar, rice wine vinegar. It really depends on what you're cooking. But the 4 I think are go-tos are red wine, white wine, apple cider vinegar, and balsamic vinegar. Moving on down the line from there, herbs and spices. So in my spice cabinet, my favorite 5 spices, I would say, are probably cinnamon, turmeric, cumin, smoked paprika, and I use a lot of coriander. So looking through your spices, if you are looking for something to branch out, or way to branch out, you might try something like smoked paprika, which is just going to lend a little bit of a different flavor to dishes you might add paprika to. If you're new to turmeric, there's plenty of Zakum's Kitchen Home Edition shows that guide you in the use of this particular spice. And if you aren't using lots of cinnamon, we add cinnamon to most everything in our house. Oatmeal, even smoothies. You know, I make most mornings, my kids enjoy a berry mango dragon fruit smoothie with a banana and some Greek unflavored yogurt. And I put probably 6 or 7 hefty shakes of cinnamon into the blender with that fruit in the morning. So a well-stocked pantry, in my opinion, contains turmeric, smoked paprika, cinnamon, and cumin, if not a few other spices.
Stephanie, we had a question from someone asking, what taste does cumin add?
Yes, cumin is earthy. It's used a lot in Middle Eastern dishes. So if you like the profiles of Mediterranean style food, cumin is a great one to experiment with. It's used in the dish we're going to make today too. So if you're curious about an easy recipe to try cumin in, we're going to be putting that into that chickpea and spinach stew that we're going to make in just a few minutes. So great question. Next, I would say things in cans. Now, what I'm showing you here are canned proteins. And these are just some of the ones that I have on hand regularly. This is a premium chunk white chicken in spring water. And the way I use this is if I want to make a quick dinner or quick lunch, I'll drain the water off of this and mix it with you don't even have to mix it with anything, but lemon juice on top or with pasta. This works hot or cold. And I also will do this as a sort of open-faced chicken salad sandwich, mixing in, I like to use an avocado-based mayonnaise. Sir Kensington's happens to be the brand I like, but again, we don't have any particular brand endorsements or associations here. These are just things I'm pulling out of my pantry to show you. So the canned proteins I have stocked in supply are canned chicken, canned tuna, wild salmon, which I'm a huge fan of. I make 2 or 3 cans at a time of wild salmon from the can, drain it, mix it with breadcrumbs and an egg, and pan fry it into little salmon croquettes. So this is a great way to get salmon in, especially if you have some people in your family who may not love the smell of salmon, or you yourself don't want to, or having a hard time finding fresh or frozen salmon that holds up texture-wise. Canned salmon works really well. We also have some Zakum's Kitchen Home Edition where I'm using canned salmon and cooking with that. Then of course I have sardines. This is not necessarily for me. I'm not a huge sardine fan, but my husband is. So we have cans of sardines, and that's usually just a go-to lunch for the people in our family who like it. And then I also, for the vegetarians at Zakum's Kitchen, there's actually a lot of really interesting canned beans and legumes now as well. So this is just an example, happens to be from Trader Joe's, but it's the Greek chickpeas with parsley and cumin. So we'll open up a can of this on a night when I might be making a bunch of roasted vegetables, hummus, maybe some grilled tofu, and we'll do extra proteins like this one, which is again the Greek chickpeas. So canned proteins are also a great staple item to have in your pantry to make a really easy lunch or dinner come together. The rest of the stuff I'm going to show you pretty quickly. We've got the grains section here. So in my pantry, I have brown rice, whole wheat pasta, and quinoa and farro are also grains that I have. This is a quick cook 10-minute farro. Again, happens to be from Trader Joe's. I'll cook this one in broth and use it as the base of a veggie bowl. Think sort of a bowl that has grains at the bottom, warm grains at the bottom with roasted vegetables, maybe some canned salmon, and a really delicious sauce on top. So another easy way to pull together a quick dinner using a whole grain. This is tricolor quinoa, which takes 15 minutes to cook. Another grain I keep on hand in my pantry at all times. I also decided to show you this one really fun thing. This is a black rice flour noodle. If you can see, I'll zoom it in here. It looks very purpley in the picture, but I find that this is like a ramen noodle. And I don't buy the one with the sauce packets. This is just the noodles themselves. But when I'm making a stir fry, tofu stir fry, for example, with a peanut sauce, these purple noodles, which are actually made from black rice flour, these are actually just a fun pop of purple color. My kids really like these for lunch too, packing these for lunch. Okay, how are we doing on time? I want to make sure we have time to cook. So I'm just going to show you a couple more things from the pantry. This is the dried beans. These are some examples of dried beans. I'm a big fan of French lentils. These are the petite French lentils. I have lots of recipes that I love to use these French lentils for, many of which we featured on Zakum's Kitchen in the past. I also always have a big bag of red lentils. There's a red lentil soup that we have featured in a previous cooking demo as well. And then of course, green split peas for split pea soup in the pressure cooker. Really easy way to get dinner on the table quickly. And then lastly is an assortment over here in the corner. I'm going to zoom you way in so you can see. I've got all kinds of things over here, from pesto to natural peanut butter, Dijon mustard, light coconut milk, canned tomatoes. And many people ask me questions about the BPA in canned tomatoes. And I just want to say, if that's a concern, I would recommend, and I usually have these on hand, but I've blown through them this past week. I would recommend the Pommy brand or anything in the cardboard box that does not have a BPA liner. Salsa, I have loads of different types of salsa, 2 or 3 jars here, and I like to mix and match. Like here's a corn salsa. You can do a salsa verde. And then I also always have tahini on hand. I like to make a lot of, just thin this out with lemon juice and water. Makes a great addition to the top of salmon, for example, or different types of veggie bowls as well. So I realized as I was preparing for today and just opening my pantry and grabbing things out of it, that there's actually quite a lot we can say about pantry items and stocking your pantry. So as I get ready to help us lead us through our cooking demo, I'd love to hear from you. What are your absolute must-have staples in your pantry? Type those into the chat. And then Flavia, if you wouldn't mind, just give us like a general overview of what people, obviously my pantry is just one example of many, and not a complete one at that. So I'm curious what people love for spices, what oils, what condiments and sauces you feel like are really beneficial to have on hand and help you pull together dinner in a pinch. And while you do that, I'm going to grab the olive oil and get us ready to cook.
Now I'm thinking of what I have in my own pantry. I'm still waiting for some responses to come through, but I'm a big proponent of pasta. So any sort of lentil pasta. I do like the brown rice pasta from Trader Joe's. And then, for days where I just want something regular, Barilla, the classic spaghetti is my go-to. We have people saying garlic, parsley, turmeric, black pepper, avocado oil, olive oil, adobo, and infused olive oils from a shop in Belmont.
You know what I want to do, because these are all such great ideas. I want to show you a couple things. For people who don't know adobo, that one so resonates with me, and I'm going to grab two things really quickly. Yeah. Because adobo is another spice that I use a lot of. And I just want to show for people for whom adobo is new, adobo is a type of chipotle pepper. It adds some heat, but the flavor of it is just magnificent. You can buy it here, like in a dry spice. You can also buy it in a paste. And so these are just two examples of maybe if you're looking to expand your pantry just a little bit and get something fun and new. Either one of these items, this is like, again, the ancho adobo chili paste and also the powder. And this is a really fun way to take, we use this adobo chili paste in the collard green wrap that we just released in one of our Zakum's Kitchen Home Edition videos, where we had a burrito style wrap with brown rice, and it had this delicious sauce that went on it. And it has this adobo paste in it. So yes, great idea. These are all wonderful ways. And to be honest, sometimes a pantry item is a great way to just jazz things up a little bit, right? Get things moving in a different direction instead of just same old, or salt, pepper, and the basics. So great, love it. Love these suggestions. All right, yeah, go ahead.
Oh, sorry, we had a couple more.
Yeah.
We have some black garlic, brown rice, chickpeas, farros, seasoned rice vinegar, Cholula, which is my favorite hot sauce. And a question about what we add adobo to, but I can also send out the collard greens video.
Thank you.
Yes.
Putting that there, that would be great, Flavia. So the adobo you can add to a number of different things, but it's going to lend itself best to things that have a Spanish, Mexican kind of flavor to them. And it's like I said, it is spicy, but I find that for me, it's not, I can control the amount by just using like half of what the recipe calls for example. There's another recipe I'm just going to mention, Flavia, and I don't mean for you to go chasing after it. But another website I talk a lot about on Zakum's Kitchen is Cookie and Kate. And Cookie and Kate has an award-winning cauliflower taco. It's a lentil recipe. So again, using pantry items. It has a head of cauliflower, but it also uses lentils instead of any other animal-based meat. And there's adobo chili paste in that recipe too. And the sauce for it is just spectacular. I find myself putting it on top of salad after I make a batch of it because the flavor is so great. All right, now we only have 11 minutes left, but I want to show you how fast you can pull dinner together. And we're going to cook in 11 minutes the Food and Wine's chickpea and spinach stew. The first step I've already done, but I want to tell you what it is. You take 10 ounces of spinach and you get a cup of water boiling in a saucepan like this. And you throw 10 ounces of spinach into the saucepan and cook it for a minute until it wilts. Then you squeeze the water out and chop it. But hopefully you're thinking creatively here, because if you're wanting to keep in the theme of shortcuts and pantry and not having to do quite as much work, you can imagine that what I just described sounds a lot like frozen spinach. So you can also just take out a cup like this, about a half a cup or 2/3 of a cup of frozen spinach, and thaw it out, squeeze out the water, and skip that first step. Okay, so here's our spinach all ready to go. We don't need to bother cooking that, it's ready. So now I'm just gonna get this pan nice and hot and put 2 tablespoons of olive oil on the bottom. So I'm starting with 2 tablespoons of olive oil. Those of you who've been to Zacum's Kitchen before know I don't measure oil, usually in pans, I just throw it in. So we're getting this nice and hot. And what I have here is 2 garlic cloves that I've put through the garlic press. I'm gonna add to that a half a teaspoon of salt and a pinch of saffron threads. Now, if you don't have saffron threads, don't worry. It would be a great way here. Instead, you could use your smoked paprika if you have it. So I got these measuring spoons last year. They're so cute, aren't they? Okay. It's a pinch, a smidge, and a dash. Somebody gave them to me for a gift. And I always love when I have a chance to use them. So pinch of saffron threads is going to go into our garlic and salt mixture. Although when it comes to saffron threads, it's actually easier to just pinch them than to try to measure them with a cute spoon. There we go. All right. So you're going to take a fork and mash that up. My oil is getting pretty hot here. All right, so we've got 2 cloves of garlic, half a teaspoon of salt, and a pinch of saffron threads. I'm just gonna mash that around a little bit together. And then once we have that kind of looking a bit like a paste, we're gonna put it in a bowl, and we're gonna mix in the spices for this recipe. Remember, I mentioned this recipe is using your pantry spices. And the spices you're gonna need are sweet paprika, cumin, a 1/4 teaspoon of cumin, and ground cloves. There's a little bit of black pepper in there too. So I've already measured our spices for us. We have 2 teaspoons of paprika, a 1/4 teaspoon of ground cumin, and a pinch of ground cloves. So I've got that garlic salt mixture, and I'm going to put the spices right in there too, and mix that around just enough to coat so it's nice and as combined as you can get it with the flavor of the garlic. And then to this, we're actually going to take the liquid from the can of chickpeas. We're going to take a 1/4 cup of that liquid. So you just opened your can of chickpeas. You're going to need 2 cans of chickpeas for this recipe. And you're going to put a 1/4 cup of chickpea liquid, also known as aquafaba, in with the garlic and the spices. And it smells so delicious. That's the sauce for this recipe. That's it. Garlic, salt, a pinch of saffron, and then the spices and the chickpea liquid. Now, I've got my oil very hot here. Hope I don't have to turn the fan on. And to this pan, we're going to add 1 small onion diced and 1 small tomato diced. But guess what? If you don't have a tomato, feel free to use a pantry item. Just dice tomatoes out of your pantry, okay? We're gonna cook this for 3 minutes. It's on medium-high heat. We're just gonna get this onion to soften, okay? So we've got onions and tomatoes in the pan. I'm gonna grab hold of you here to show you that, if I can do that easily enough. Here's the onions and tomatoes sauteing in the pan for 3 minutes. And once we're done with that, this is one of the things I love about this recipe is how quickly it comes together. So we've got 3 minutes of the onions and tomatoes sauteing. The onions are already starting to soften up. And once we get that done, we've got this delicious sauce right here. We're gonna dump that in next. And then the rest of this really does come together so quickly. You just stir tomatoes, onions. Get just this 1 more minute. And like I mentioned before, this recipe calls for 2 cans of chickpeas. And just a note, when you open the chickpeas, typically I find myself sort of habitually over the sink draining the chickpeas. For this recipe, you're actually going to use the chickpea liquid as well. So you're going to open 2 cans and you're going to use the liquid from both cans of chickpeas as well. So don't dump it. It's actually part of what makes the nice smooth sauce for this recipe. As I wait for this to just cook 1 more minute, Flavia, any other questions or comments so far?
None so far.
Okay, look, keep them coming if you have an idea or a thought, we welcome it. So this is ready now, and I'm gonna take this spice garlic combination I have and let that hit the pan. I wish you could smell how good this smells when that sauce is in the pan. We get that, and we give that 1 minute to saute. So now the aroma from the cumin, the cloves, and the paprika is really, really fragrant here. And once that sautés, the aroma of those spices is released, we're just going to stir in the chickpeas and the remaining liquid and the spinach. And we're going to cook all of that for about 15 minutes at a simmer, and you're done.
Stephanie, do all canned chickpeas have aquafaba liquid?
Yeah. Aquafaba is actually just the brine that the chickpeas are in. It's just the water that the chickpeas are basically soaking in. So that's it. This is ready to go. I'm going to take 2 cans of chickpeas. Okay, and I'm going to dump them both in with all of the liquid. That's what's going to go in. And then turn this up to simmer. And we're going to put the spinach in too. All right, this. And then our spinach, either frozen spinach or the 10-ounce spinach that you pre-cooked. I just want to show you what this looks like in the saucepan now. It's the simplest meal. It literally took us, I mean, I had pre-chopped the onion, but aside from that, this meal literally took us only a few minutes to pull together. So you've got this beautiful, fragrant broth, if you will, 2 cans of chickpeas in a liquid, and spinach, either from canned or fresh. Not canned, frozen or fresh. Almost exclusively pantry-based items. And we let this simmer for about 15 minutes. The serving suggestions from Food or Wine are to serve this alongside some crusty bread. For those of you who are sourdough enthusiasts, it's very nice with a sourdough baguette. You can even do a whole wheat sourdough baguette. Or our family likes to have this just alongside a bunch of different roasted vegetables, Middle Eastern type foods like hummus and whole wheat pita bread, for example. I'm also going to roast cauliflower to go alongside this tonight. We have found that the sauce on this particular stew is delicious, a delicious flavor when paired with roasted cauliflower. So there you have it. There is how to pull together a quick pantry dinner using things, dried spices, olive oil, canned proteins, in this case, chickpeas. And I hope that each of you, I really appreciate your suggestions and ideas for how you use pantry items regularly at home. Any other questions, Flavia?
We do have a question about the spinach. Could you take fresh spinach and saute it with the onions instead of boiling it first?
Absolutely. And I've done that many a time before. In fact, the first time I read this recipe, I thought that seems a little bit of, excessive to have to be putting water and then putting the spinach in and then the nutrients leach into the water. So absolutely, if you have fresh spinach on hand, just save it after you do the onions and tomatoes for the first 3 minutes or so. The spinach will wilt very quickly. You can also use in this recipe kale or collard greens. Really any sturdy green works really well. You just would change the cooking time. So I made this probably 3 weeks ago, and I had a lot of collard greens from my farm share that week. So I just sliced them ribbon thin and used the collard greens instead. And I did just that, saute them with the onions and tomatoes, and it turned out really nice. So it doesn't have to just be spinach. You can definitely vary the green as well. And now it's bubbling and simmering. So I'm standing over there just thinking, oh, I wish that I could just dole out a sample, right, through these live streams to all of you. But I do really want to thank everybody for being here. Our next Zakum's Kitchen Home Edition will be January the 5th. Please keep joining us the first Wednesday of the month. We love having you here. We love your suggestions too. This was a recommendation from one of you who's participating. So if any of you have other ideas you'd like to see us feature on Zakum's Kitchen Home Edition, drop it into the chat or send us an email at the email that was in the chat. Be well, happy holidays, stay safe, and I'll see you in the beginning of 2022. Thanks.